it's become that moment where it feels like it's become a platform more than just like, here's some pretty weddings, and like that's what a lot of, I think, blogging has been. It's just like, here's a lot of pretty stuff, and like you kind of had a feeling of like it being more about the stuff of a wedding, right? Like it's like here's this really expensive dress, here's this really expensive this. Like it just became more the things and rather the story of the people actually coming together, and because that's what it's all about, right? Like it's about those two people and like their families and friends.
The goal isn't to live forever. The goal is to create something that will.
Welcome to Perspective, a podcast for wedding creatives where we sit down, often with a special guest, and talk about our many years of experience in the wedding industry. Today we're talking to Christina and Jay Golian of Elemental Photography about their experiences running We Fell in Love, a wedding blog featuring modern and unique Scottish weddings. We also talk to them about the benefits of being featured and how you should consider your work in order to get featured. This episode is, of course, sponsored by With Jack, but we'll get onto that a little bit later in the show. In the meantime, Greg, what are we drinking?
We are drinking some Ethiopian coffee from 3FE, which is Third Floor Espresso, and it was a gift from our friend Ashley Baxter.
You forgot to shake the bag.
Oh, okay.
That's better. Thank you.
Just so you know, there's beans in this bag. It's a Guje Shakiso from Ethiopia.
So thank you, Ashley Baxter, for the coffee. And hi, Christina and Jay. How you doing?
Hi.
Hello.
We're doing pretty good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Can I pour you some coffee?
Absolutely.
Or we have, because it's St. Andrew's Day on Friday, we have whiskey, clearly Scottish. We have black coffee. Not really Scottish, but
Ethiopian.
Ethiopian.
Yeah.
We have Brewdog, punk IPAs.
Very Scottish.
We have normal iron brew and diet iron brew.
Normal.
Is this pre-sugar tax iron brew?
I'm so it's post. I'm so sorry. It's really hard to get.
You don't have a secret stash.
We used to have a secret stash in the family because my brother-in-law's wife's dad owned a corner shop. And he stockpiled it all for us. And we have so many family events. It's gone. It's gone.
Amazing.
And that stuff's like gold. So anyway.
Weirdly, we don't kind of drink that much iron brew except for when we're not in Scotland, and then suddenly it's when you're away and you're just like
It's like the drink.
Yeah,
you're like, oh yeah.
I'm so homesick. I need some orange liquid for my hangover.
So while he's pouring these, what you guys been up to this weekend? He's been busy?
Yeah, we were shooting a wedding.
Yeah, had a wedding on Saturday and had a engagement shoot on Friday as well, which was really good. Engagement shoot was down in Crail over on the harbour, and the rain managed to stay off and everything, which is great. So
nice.
Yeah, it was
incredible.
That's all you can ask for.
I know, yeah. Like,
and it wasn't
wind,
too windy. We lucked out. It was rubbish weather on the drive over, and then suddenly it just kind of cleared for the shoot. And then weird, like we all sat outside afterwards and ate cake and drank coffee in the cold. The views were so amazing.
But yeah, it's incredible because it's like this.
Here.
So it's like a cafe, like tea room, but they have this patio that sits out kind of over the cliff. So, well, not entirely. It's a bit set back, so you're not like terrifyingly hanging over the edge of the cliff. But you have views looking over the Forth and everything, and like just these waves coming in. And it's beautiful. It's really good. Cold, but yeah, beautiful.
It's definitely getting cold this time of year.
Yeah, definitely.
Like super cold. Like you come into the office, it's dark. You leave the office and it's dark.
Yeah, that's pretty tough.
Yeah.
And you always forget about it as well, don't you? Because like in the summertime, you get so used to endless light, and you're like, this is it. We live in a hot country now, and this is going to happen forever. And
now you spend half your life checking the sunset time, don't you? And
what time's the ceremony?
3:45.
Oh.
Yeah. It's always followed by that. Oh no. No matter what time of the day it is. Yeah. And we don't have any windows in the office, so it's like so we really do not get any light.
Yeah,
our computer screens are the light that we get.
You need some sad lights.
Sad lights?
Yeah, seasonal. Was it?
It's those lamps they've got special bulbs. I do not know the science.
I feel like they should rebrand.
If you have seasonal affective disorder,
yeah, because it's the seasonal affective disorder.
or if you just want some daylight in your life, really.
You want some happy bulbs.
Yeah,
make you happy. Yeah. There you go.
You get the alarm clocks as well. In Scotland, we need them. You know, you should kind of be just like giving out. You know, now like they do that baby box. They should be like, have a lamp.
Yeah,
need it.
But equally, like you love like it gets this time of year and you forget. Yes, we don't have that much light, but the light is amazing. It's just like
true.
A whole day of golden hour, which is insane.
We have more light than Iceland. So.
Yes.
Yeah.
We've got that.
Yeah.
24
hours.
Yesterday morning, I was coming into the office and it was a bit later, so the sun was coming up and it was like, this looks amazing. It's like, I want to take pictures of it.
Yeah. Well, the good thing is, because we did a shoot, in fact, the couple whose wedding we just photographed, we did a shoot with them in spring. And it was at Dunnottar Castle, and we wanted to do a sunrise shoot. So we were like, guys, would you be up for meeting us at 4:30 in the morning? And luckily they were. And also driving over to it, it was really cloudy, and we're like thinking, oh, we've made them get up at like 2:30 probably to get ready. And there's going to be no sunrise. It's really cloudy. But luckily when we got there, it just like everything just broke out. It was incredible. Just the colours were amazing. But yeah, that is what you have to do in spring to get it, isn't it?
I'm not going to lie, I've always wanted to shoot at Dunnottar Castle and we've never done it.
It's amazing.
Sunrise is the time.
Sunrise is the time.
It was
so quiet. There was a few landscape photographers actually there as well. So some keen folks.
Yeah. Okay. But that's it.
But not many.
No.
Maybe like 3 or 4.
You can't get into the castle at a time, but like the shoreline and everything's amazing.
Yeah.
Like
and the beach looks like Iceland. I didn't really appreciate that until after being to Iceland, and I was like, actually, it looks really similar as well.
You often feel that, like you can play the game, like post a photo and say Scotland or Iceland. And a lot of the time you can't really tell. Like geography around here is amazing.
That's very true. Yeah. So if you're a photographer, definitely just take your couple down to the beach, SEO Iceland, and you'll get a destination wedding. Easy. Easy.
Nailed it. Nailed it. Just Vic? No.
Oh, God.
Quite a busy weekend as well.
Yeah.
We did.
Where
were you guys?
So I was up in Inverness at Achnacairn shooting a wedding for the associate team, Lovelock. So me, Tom, and Neil Thomas Douglas was the photographer.
Brilliant.
So I drove him up and
top pants all the way a bit.
Road trip to Inverness. Yeah, it was really good.
Actually, I think
the couple were amazing as well.
Yeah. I think I saw all your Instagram stories as well.
Oh yeah.
No, there was a feed on the farmers' Facebook feed.
Yeah. They were taking some pictures at the dinner time. Downtime.
Yeah. A particularly good zoom in of you.
Yeah.
yes.
It got a bit crazy.
Yeah. But good day though, is it?
Yeah, it was a really good day.
Yeah.
The weather stayed pretty good. Like, didn't get crazy light or anything, but it stayed dry as we said. So that's all we can ask for. Got some nice colours in the forest. It was
cool.
Yeah, it's that beautiful time when it's kind of like late autumn, but it's just coming into winter light, but autumn colours.
Still some nice oranges there.
Yeah. It's like you just slide the vibrant slider all the way down. That's what's happening. It's amazing.
And while I was there, you were in Edinburgh.
I was at the Signet Library shooting the Cairn String Quartet for what was supposed to be 10 live performance videos for a new album that they were going to release. Something about the day, we started a little bit late, and then the girls were doing great for like 3 songs, and then they just little hiccups along the way, just these kind of like live performance issues, as any performer has, kind of dragged out the day. So I think we only got 7 done.
I mean, that's pretty impressive, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, I know. Yes, exactly. Yeah, still 7.
It was quite ambitious aiming for 10.
Yeah.
Because you're doing all the audio as well for it as well, right? So like you're recording.
Well, I wasn't, but there was another sound.
Because that would have been stressful.
I couldn't have done that myself. The sound engineer was called Gary from the Slate Rooms in Edinburgh, I think he's based in.
Okay.
Lovely guy. We're going to be talking about We Fell in Love, obviously. But tell us about you guys first.
Oh, that's like, that's that question that you constantly get asked and you try and like explain to people, what do you do? And it's like, you want to be able to say, I'm a photographer, or like, and that's it. But it's not anymore, is it?
No, it's, the easiest way. I suppose where we started from. So we're a husband and wife wedding photography team. Been doing that for 11 years. And then but almost 7 years ago, actually, we had the genius idea of starting a blog, because that wouldn't take up much time, as we were talking to you guys earlier, like, oh yeah, let's just do that because it'll be awesome and fun. And I was trying to persuade everybody else to do it first, basically. I kept saying, like, I remember like magazines and things, I'd be like, guys, are you going to do like a blog? Because, Scotland could really do with its own wedding blog. And at the time, there were really big blogs for the UK, but nothing for Scotland. And just like all these amazing places we've sat here talking about, we're like, people just, you want to see these places. There's so many, like, we can get married anywhere here, so there's endless options. There's so many incredible, talented people in the industry. It'd just be really nice for everyone to have somewhere to show what they do, and for people getting married to see what's on offer. And we're like, oh, eventually, yeah. So after I tried to persuade a wedding planner, I tried to persuade a magazine, I tried to persuade everyone, and then eventually we just ended up doing it ourselves. And it's been like this roller coaster ride ever since. Of like, it's an amazing, fun, crazy juggling act between when you have two businesses, as you guys know, because you've got a podcast, which is, you're like, oh yeah, let's just do that. That'll take like one afternoon a week, won't it?
That is exactly what we thought it was going to be. Like, we'll record it in like an hour, and then we'll just like edit in an hour, and then
release it the next day.
We'll drink nice coffee and have all the fun. And it is all those things, but it's so much more, isn't it?
Yeah,
that you don't think about.
Oh, you're crazy.
You wouldn't do it if you didn't love it. That's
exactly
the thing. And I think, the trouble with starting a business is it makes you just constantly want to start other businesses, because once you've done a huge thing about, you're laughing because you're like, yeah, you've got 5 ideas lined up.
We've gone through many ideas.
Yeah. Because the thing for us, the hardest bit of starting the business was all the business stuff. We were clueless on all of that. The accounts and like just, general.
Still are.
Don't ask her. Getting there. But it's all that stuff. And once you've kind of, the rest just kind of came organically and naturally. So once you've nailed the business parts, it's very tempting, isn't it? Every time you have a crazy idea to be like, oh, we could just, my really random one at the moment is like, oh, it'd be nice to have like a 21st century curiosity shop. That would be cool. Yeah, I know. It's very random.
Okay.
But you've got to rein it in to an extent as well, don't you? Probably, I'm sure you find it too. But when you're self-employed, one of the things we love most is the variety, that no 2 days are the same. So it's just getting to hop around from different projects and work on, and also just to kind of choose how your day goes. If you're not out in a shoot or doing a particular job, if you're in the mood to sit down and write, that's what you do. Or if you're in the mood to go out and take photos, or you're in the mood to do your bookwork. No one's ever in the mood to do their bookwork.
I'm never in the mood to do writing blogs or writing captions for social media. I hate that. I'm just not
a lot of people find it hard, and it's become so important now, hasn't it? I think just the way content's gone, that it's as important to have the words as the visuals.
Yeah, and I think that's like been a strength between the two of us, because I'm very much like that. I've gotten better at it, and I can waffle on quite a bit now in writing when I want to and when the mood strikes me. But you're always so much better at doing it than me. So
but originally, it was really funny when we started. I kind of was thinking that the other day. It hadn't really occurred to me, but when I used to be a journalist, it kind of we had a website, and we had to do news on the website every morning, which was kind of in a way just like blogging, I suppose. But it was news-based, it was factual, and there's no adjectives really in there. And when I started blogging, first of all for Elemental, and I would like to say, Jay, does this look okay? And he's like, it's really good kind of factual telling of the day, but maybe do you want to put some adjectives in there? And I had to really because we got told at uni that if we put too many adjectives in our pieces, like we would just get sent off to do it again. That wasn't allowed in a sort of news. So it's quite funny.
Americanize it. Put more.
It's like,
say awesome a lot.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Get some exclamation marks in there, and now that just comes so naturally. But it's been a many years, I suppose, of a process.
I remember writing content back in the day. Like if I wasn't in the mood, or if I had trouble thinking about it, I would get Greg to do the bare bones, and then I would zhuzh it up. And we always used to say that word as like zhuzhing it up.
I used to always do just the bare bones, and it was sort of similar. It's just they got married in a church.
We went to the beach.
Did that. They did this. They did that. And then Simon would read it and be like, right, okay, and then he would make it all fancy.
On the sands of the shore of Loch Lomond, where the wind... Yeah.
It's a skill, isn't it?
And
no, I wasn't good at it.
Sometimes it comes a lot more easily than others, you know? Like, you can really, with a wedding, you can really connect with a couple, and like, you know, like, I always say, like, you kind of fall in love with people every single wedding. Like, every wedding that you shoot, you fall in love with that couple, or you've grown so attached to them, and that's really easy to then write about afterwards, because you are just, like, spilling out your emotions about them on it.
Yeah. You do. I think the difficult thing is because when you're writing about weddings, you feel like you're being very repetitive, because it is. It genuinely is beautiful. No matter how someone does the day, there's always it's beautiful because it's this coming together of people who are in love. And you know, I sit with the thesaurus open right afterwards for beautiful and wonderful, and you know, you're like sitting there feeling it. And you know, and I think that's what makes blogging, particularly about your own work, so difficult. You know, for so many photographers and filmmakers, people in the industry, because you're like, I've said that so many times. I feel like I'm just, you know, it doesn't sound authentic because I'm saying it over and over, although it is authentic. But then you got to remember, your readers are not reading
every single blog.
They're not reading every single blog. They're probably not unless it's your mum, they're probably not following your blog for 10 years. You know, they're probably following it for the period of time they're getting married and planning their wedding, you know, and some will keep coming back after because they just love it. But I think we all kind of worry a bit too much about that, and it becomes a bit of a block for people.
I like your method. Just use awesome all the time. It's awesome. It's awesome.
It's great. It's awesome.
Do you still sort of write a lot of words for your blogs on your photography stuff in Elemental?
Well, there is one thing. We've gotten much worse at blogging our own work on Elemental. We used to blog so often. Although, it's all changed as well. Like how people consume content has changed so much that you don't need to be blogging as much as you used to, because social media is now like microblogging. And even for We Fell in Love, although it started, so it was about six and a half years ago now, it launched. And we got to a point where we were blogging every single day. And you know, people would say, oh, I go into work and I get on the computer and I look at the blog and then I start work, and it's like a really nice uplifting way to start the day. But now it tends to be that on the way to work they're looking at Instagram or Facebook and getting the content that way. You know, might have a quick look at the blog, but they're telling us now they tend to sit down on the weekends or on their days off, and they'll like pour over it then and spend hours on it then, but they'll grab little bits every single day along the way. So you know, I think it has changed, and I mean things like podcasts now, that's you know, it's just when you think back, because how long have you guys been filming? 8 years, is it?
No, yes.
9 in April.
So if you think of everything that's changed, like Facebook was so new back then, wasn't it? I mean, we started using it round about when we got married, which was 11 years ago. When we were kind of on Facebook. Instagram didn't exist.
No.
Twitter was huge.
Yeah, Twitter was
got really bad.
Yeah, I remember that.
Remember that thing.
I remember being like, oh, we need to get on Twitter because I can see other people using it and it's working well for them. We should be on there. And then like gave it a wee try, and eventually was like, this isn't for me. Like, I'm not enjoying it. So eventually sort of gave up on it. Instagram feels better. Like, I prefer the way it works.
It's a really positive environment, Instagram, whereas unfortunately Twitter doesn't feel like that anymore. I don't think so.
What's the word limit on Twitter?
I think they've
it
changed
used to be like
it.
120 characters or something.
I think it's longer now.
Now it's an essay.
Or more.
See, you've got over 1,000 with Instagram.
Is it? I didn't.
Because a picture is 1,000 words, guys. Come on.
Simon, leave. You're fired. Leave. Just staying on blogging your own work for a second. Like, you touched on something about how at each wedding you sort of fall in love with the couple, and straight after it you're like, oh wow, that was amazing. I'm just wondering if it makes more sense to write your sort of recap or blog straight away.
Yes, without a doubt.
While you still have the emotion like
it tends to be you sit down to write your blog when you've delivered the images or you're posting them. And at that point the wedding's way out your mind.
What I try and do is grab a quick note on my phone of things, and not even just for blogging our own work, but just for anything I'm writing. I find annoyingly, it's nearly always when I'm in the shower that I get the bit, which is very impractical. You know, but I jump out. Jay, you're like laughing at me. I normally jump out the shower, like streaking through the house, grab my phone, start like tapping furiously at my phone, and that's to record something, whether it's for an article or a blog post, or I'm always trying to write books and things at the same time too.
Let's continue talking about the blog. So was it just your baby to begin with?
No, so what happened, so we were doing this thing where I was basically trying to persuade everybody else to do this because I thought that there needs to be this. Like, we wanted to have our work on a blog like this, basically, is what was going on. I was like, someone needs to have that blog because I want our weddings to go on this blog for people getting married here. And we went away. I don't know if we were just on I think we were in Madrid or something. We were away for a few days and we came back and really good friends of ours, Niels and Ali at Blue Sky Photography, they were like, you keep going on about like the blog thing. And we're like, yeah. And they were like, well, while you're away, we bought a domain name. Shall we just start the blog? And we were like, oh. Yeah. And we'd had a few wines with them. We're like, yeah. The best ideas usually come that way. We were like, yeah, sure, let's start the blog. Let's just do that. So that's how it started. And it was kind of this process of, we kind of sat down at the beginning and went, right, what does everyone want to do? How does everyone want to do this? Who's good at what? And the boys were like, well, we don't want to write it. Jay's like, I'll do the design, and Niels is always like, he was amazing at marketing and things, just speaking to people, just being himself, but he's an amazing marketer. He just phones people up and chats and things happen. Huge things happened. Like suddenly, I remember it was our 1 year anniversary and I was like, oh, it'd be cool to have a competition. Do you want to look into that? And he was like, yeah, I'll just make a few calls and see. And then suddenly he's like, so we're giving away a wedding. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, it's like prize worth about £25,000. Is that okay? And I was just like, oh, okay. And we were the first blog in the UK ever to do that. And so that just crazy stuff happened. But also it was incredibly time consuming, as you can imagine, because we were both running our own businesses. I don't know why these timings always happen like this. We got married in the same year as we started our photography business. We fell in love while I was very pregnant. So, in the early days of that business, we had a very young baby who didn't like sleeping through the night and didn't till very recently when she turned 5. So, and they then took on a photography studio. They opened a studio in Edinburgh 5 years ago now, I think it was, they said. So we all had all this loads of other stuff going on too. So it was always, but we found over the years, basically what happened is it came to be that I was the one who was kind of just really everyone enjoyed different bits of it, but I was the one who'd be like, oh, shall we do this? Shall we do this? And everyone else was just so busy with their other projects and things. And they kept going to me, I think you'd be really good running this. And I'd be like, oh, don't be silly. I can't do that. And I'm like, I think you should. And that just kind of naturally evolved over the years. And that's what's happened. And from the very beginning, I always remember thinking, I'd love to have a magazine because that's my background before photography was I worked in magazines. And then this year, it just seemed the right time. I think the way content is being consumed has changed so much as well that it felt like a really good time. And it started as me going, we'll make let's make a highlights of the year publication online. And it's just like all the best bits of the blog. Can go in there and people can sit down over the holidays and enjoy it, and it'll just be a nice way to have different way to show the content, and we can make it look really beautiful and engaging. And then I was like, well, if we're going to do it, why use bits of the highlights? Why don't we do let's just do it properly. Let's just make it an online magazine. And then suddenly I'm like, okay, so it's a quarterly magazine. Someone said to me the other day, is it going to be monthly? And I was like, no, I draw the line at that. Quarterly.
That is intense. Yeah. What are your roles for the blog and the magazine? Do you treat them differently, or?
Yeah, when Christina was talking about the whole everybody was like, you should do that. I was one of the everybody's. Really, I'm helping with the design, so I do all the design work for it. And
did you do the logo?
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah.
I really like it.
Yeah. No, it was good getting some color into it.
Found it's funny because over the years, and people are always like, "Oh, how can you work together and be married and still get on?" And mostly we do. Yeah. But you've kind of changed. I think our working relationships changed a lot over the years, and we've kind of gone back now to how it used to be pre becoming parents. Because when we had Mila, it would often be one of us was looking after her when she was really small, and the other one was working. So we weren't getting, other than being out on shoots, we weren't getting that much time to actually sit down together and work together. And now being back in a space, like a creative space where we're working together, I think we've just realized how much we enjoy that. I kind of forgotten how much I love working with you, and we really bounce well off each other. So we'll create
you
things.
Guys are so
Stop
cute.
it.
Stop it.
Now you've put me off. I'm going to have to say something that's not sweet now to make up for that. It's funny, you keep playing down, you're like, yeah, I'm doing a little bit of design. Doing all the design.
It is like 100 and some odd pages of design work and some design, some advertising design as well.
Wow.
And there's a few, you've done all the films for it as well. From our shoots.
And you've got guest bloggers as well.
Yeah.
Are they, or do you have more of a team? Is there more of you? On
the actual blog itself, we've had now for the last few years, we'll have like people who are planning their weddings. We'll do guest spots.
Right.
The one, actually our new one at the moment, I just absolutely love, because it's one of the weird little things, that makes your job really, really worthwhile when you get those emails and you're like, we don't, we're not always very well financially rewarded as creatives in comparison to some industries, as a diplomat.
Well put.
But there's so many things that make up for it, our flexible lifestyles and getting to do these things that we are all intensely passionate about. And this, I got this email from our new guest blogger, and he said that he's marrying, he's having a same-sex wedding, and he was saying that growing up he was really badly bullied. And at school, his English teacher turned a blind eye to classmates bullying him for being gay. And he said his English really, really suffered as a result. And he's worked really hard, getting like all emotional, but he's worked really hard on his grammar and things to teach himself basically since then how to write. And he said, like, the fact that you've picked me out of all these people to tell my story, and that I am getting to put my wedding to the man I love out there for everyone to see, and to inspire other people and other young guys growing up, in that same sort of situation, is just incredible. And I was just like blown away, because it's the kind of thing that just doesn't necessarily always stop. Like, it's really important to me to give a voice to people who wouldn't have one otherwise, and to show the diversity of weddings happening here in Scotland. That's one of my main drivers for doing this, and I'm forever actively saying to everyone, let's see your LGBTQ weddings, please. And let's see, we need to see more, people of colour, and we need to see more people with disabilities. And it's not all just one, we're not all straight, white, skinny couples getting married here in Scotland. Everybody is coming here to get married. We want to represent everyone and let everyone see that, they're important.
It's become that moment where it feels like it's become a platform more than just like, here's some pretty weddings, and like that's what a lot of, I think, blogging has been. It's just like, here's a lot of pretty stuff, and like you kind of had a feeling of like it being more about the stuff of a wedding, right? Like it's like here's this really expensive dress, here's this really expensive this. Like it just became more the things, and rather the story of the people actually coming together. And because that's what it's all about, right? Like it's about those two people and like their families and friends. So.
We'll get photographers will often say to us, I wasn't going to submit this wedding to you because there weren't many details, and the ceremony was very restrictive. We weren't allowed to shoot as we would like to have, and things like that. And I'm like, but look at the story. The story, and you've captured the story amazingly. And it's important that also we show the weddings with the flowers and the details for the people who are looking for that. But it's the story is the heart of what we're doing. That's the engaging part. Because now that you can see a million pictures of pretty flowers or nicely dressed tables and things on Instagram or Pinterest or wherever, like it becomes a bit generic, doesn't it? It's beautiful, but it dilutes it because there's so much of it. It's the story that makes it jump out.
So you guys in the office, your guest bloggers obviously write remotely, not in the office. Do you have anyone else on your team?
Yeah, so we'll have different people in the industry have contributed as guest bloggers. We get, in fact, now a lot of people are doing travel posts for us, which is amazing.
Yeah.
So just because we love travel, and I think most people in Scotland love travel because we have to, because look at our weather. But we do. We live in an island and we like to go exploring. I think in general, holidays are very important to people here, trips. So we always get an amazing reaction whenever we have travel features. So now a lot of our, we call them the Whiffle fam, the members of our community, the industry members, the fam, they're like, I've just been here and there, and do you want me to write about that? And we're like, yeah, that'd be brilliant, because much as I'd like to go to all the places, I don't have time. But we do get to sometimes, which is brilliant. So we've got them, and then we've got contributors for the magazine too. And my hope is that we can, bring on more designers and writers and artists to be involved. I'd love that. I'd absolutely love that, because it's an industry that, as you can imagine, it's very difficult to get into.
Your approach to the magazine and the blog, what is the difference?
So the blog we post to kind of throughout the week, and it will have, they'll both have similar content. The main difference will be in how people engage with it and how it looks. Because, the blog format is that more traditional blog format, storytelling, scrolling down, looking through images, skimming the text, as we've discussed, that they do to look for the bits that
on
are
your phone with your thumb.
And some of them read it all, and some just are scanning, looking for the bits that they want to find. The magazine is more, do you guys read a lot of magazines online or in print, or a mixture?
No, but only
not really.
only because Border Books closed and it got really hard to buy magazines. The ones I wanted to.
Yeah.
So we took a subscription out recently for Readly, which just allows you to read. It's like most magazines are on there. A lot of magazines are on there, which is amazing, because also what I love is that although it's a really difficult time for traditional media, there are still all these obscure magazines available. When you go, you find that gem of a massive stationery shop and it has all the magazines. You're like, yes,
I know,
heaven.
It is the best feeling.
Bus Weekly.
It really is.
Some of those are the kind of magazines I
and
used to work for. They were the kind that would be on Have I Got News For You in the obscure kind of magazine section. So it's nice to see that they all still exist and that everyone with their hi Tom. So it's great to see that. But we've taken a subscription recently, because what I don't like is often I will buy a magazine and sit and flick through, and I love seeing it. I love the experience of a print magazine and flicking through it. And, often you're at the airport or something. But after half an hour, when you're like, I've read all the bits I'm interested in, and then you've got this big chunk of tree, and you're like, now I feel guilty. And also, that was £5.
Yes.
Or 10 sometimes. It's a really nice quality magazine. So we got the subscription so that we could read magazines online. We still buy occasionally print magazines, but in general, we're reading a lot of them online. And it's just a great way to access content, especially the more niche content. And We Fell in Love is definitely very, very niche. It's for people getting married in Scotland. And not even for all people getting married in Scotland. It's for people having a particular style of wedding in Scotland. They're tending to go a bit more modern, a bit more alternative, a bit more, it's kind of off the grid often as well. With it all, a lot of them are coming from overseas. They're not going to get a print magazine sent to Australia, because as we know from always trying to buy photography equipment and things from overseas, it's not always fun, is it?
No.
The shipping and customs and
never fun.
Like that. But it's a hassle. So anyway, that's kind of, we're going online, and it offers all these amazing opportunities that you can't do with print magazine, like embedding video into it. And that experience of you can turn a page and then a film auto plays, and in the shoots, the editorial shoots we've been doing this year, we've been filming the behind the scenes as well. And to be able to have all that, it's just such a more engaging way, I think, to experience content, and to be able to click through. If you like something, you see something, you want to know more, you just click right through to it. You don't have to then go and look it up and when you're back at your desktop.
So is your first issue out yet?
The first issue, it launches on December 21st, so it's right in time for the Christmas holidays. Yeah, that's the plan.
Let's all go.
When everyone's coming off work, and they've been so busy until then, and then they get to just get stuck into the planning after obviously all the stuffing your face that you got to do Christmas Day.
Greg.
Is that just me?
Eating all that cheese.
Literally, Greg's stuffing his face right now with the yum yum.
Yum yum.
You're just
making a mess.
Ready, aren't you? Because
it's warming up.
Scarily not that long.
You can't just jump
Christmas,
into hardcore cheese binge.
No.
Yeah.
Where can people find the magazine?
So it will be online. They can go to the website We Fell in Love, and they can access it from there. We'll be shouting about it on social media. It'll be everywhere as well.
Are you still trying to gather content, or is the content locked down?
The content is
for
pretty locked down. I mean, it'd be hard to say no to certain. I'm always open to ideas, and if not for this issue, then for the next one. But it is pretty locked down. We've flat planned. We've got everything planned out. But that is the beauty of it, again, being online, is that you don't have this long lead time of you send it to print and wait, which is amazing as well. Love that about it.
Yeah, and if it's a piece that might not work with the magazine, then it works well on the blog.
Yeah, it complements each other so well. Actually, a travel piece I'm doing a shorter version in the magazine and then the longer form version on the blog for anyone who wants to know more about it. Okay. And you can do that a lot in the articles. If it's a wedding in a certain place, you can then point them to where they can go and see more and find it more in the blog. They just click right through. So
like see more weddings at this place, or like that. You can kind of jump.
Just brings it all together. Actually, just
within it. It's in a way that you just can't with the normal traditional print magazine, right? You can't be like, oh, go to our website and see this.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm going to look up that link, and it's like.
I'm constantly taking pictures of print magazines, especially it's usually when I'm flying. Weird. It's always EasyJet. I don't know when it wasn't EasyJet lately, but I'm always that sounds interesting. Taking pictures, and then I just forget. I'm like, I'm going to look that up later, and I never do. And then I'm clearing out my phone, and I'm like, oh, what are all these pictures of that thing in Lapland? That was what? That Helsinki? What? That hotel? But it doesn't usually happen. So.
Yeah. Are you guys insured?
Yeah.
Good. That's the right answer.
Yeah.
Because the show is obviously sponsored by With Jack.
That was a terrible link.
That was pretty smooth.
He's like investigating you. Are you guys insured?
Are you insured?
Because if you're not, you should be insured with Jack. When the last time we had a guest on, I jokingly suggested that if it was Joe, that Joe should read the ad. Because I've been doing it for
but you've got such like a great podcast voice.
Yeah,
that's the first time anyone said that. But thank you.
It is distinct podcast voice.
You didn't tell me Joe had done it. Now I don't want to do it because she probably did it.
Okay,
really
so the thing is, she didn't do it.
So there is no bar.
There is no bar.
Okay,
you get to set.
I'll set the low bar so that everyone else can feel.
Cool.
Okay, cool. So With Jack was built from the ground up and is tailored specifically for creatives. Whether you provide a service like design, development and photography or offer advice to clients, With Jack is for you. It's focused on creatives. Insurance shouldn't be complicated, so With Jack has made every step easy. You'll deal with one form and talk to one Jack, so you can sign up, get covered and move on with your day. With Jack is all about bespoke insurance for creatives. Simple. That doesn't mean more forms or faff, it means less. It's not about endless features and stale service, it's about one solid policy and the personal touch. Bye-bye unnecessary fuss, hello creative, friendly insurance. Be a confident creative.
Very well read. Usually when I'm reading, I have to read like 10 times and piece all the smushed together. You did.
I want to sign up with Jack. That sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Because as discussed, we don't really like all the form-filling, boring parts of our jobs very much. So,
yeah.
Which insurance is definitely in that category, isn't it?
I know. I don't know if you've listened to the podcast or Ashley's episode when she talks about the insurance.
Yeah.
Recording that was the first time I've ever been excited about insurance.
Yeah, she's definitely passionate about insurance, which is
and
that's
good. She just she filled you with confidence as well, because until now it's felt a bit like a them and us environment. And actually, we had to make a claim this year, a personal claim for the first time. Jay doesn't want to discuss this because it involves him being very silly.
Please do. Go on. What did you do?
But having said that, what I was really surprised about, because you kind of imagine, it's something you pay and you kind of obviously you hope never to need. And you pay for it, and you do that for years. And if you think about how much you've paid, it's awful. But I was amazed by how willing and ready they were to give us the money. I was like, really? And you don't want to really? You're just you don't want to come and get the thing that's broken? No, that's fine.
That was one of the things that actually brought to mind. It's like, well, that reaction. Oh, really? You really give us the money?
Yeah.
You really do your job? Like, why is that the reaction that everyone has about insurance?
Trusts,
yeah.
Strange.
It is weird.
So what happened?
What happened?
I had bikes on the roof of our car and went through a drive-through and didn't notice the barrier and forgot that I had bikes, and they quickly came off. It was it was mental because I realized I had bikes on the roof of the car the moment that the back window imploded with like our kid in the back seat. And our daughter was in
the car, so it was
so it just like blew up and like glass was like flying everywhere. I was like, what is going? The bikes. And it was at a McDonald's as well, so it was just brutal. Like during like rush hour, the one on Broxton roundabout, like on the A9, that really busy one. I was there. So there's this huge tailback, and like the bikes were like stuck and everything. I had to pull them out.
And not they'd be expensive bikes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, it was, but it was so old that like it wasn't worth much anymore. Like it didn't seem like.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Oh, so they were old bikes. Maybe you needed a new one. Maybe you thought you'd do this accident just to get a new one.
I was talking there so that we didn't stop recording.
Has to be said, of all the bikes you could have done it with, it was the best bike.
Yeah, it
for it to
definitely was.
happen with.
Yeah.
And it was Mila's bike, which was so small that it wasn't affected. Because he just bought a brand new bike that was very expensive beforehand. And when he told me about it, I was thinking, oh, it's that bike. And I don't think I'd even insured that one yet, because we usually need to add them to the policy because they're over the thing.
Because they're silly pricey.
But what didn't help as well was that I was in Nice on a hen weekend.
Oh, wow.
And I was trying to keep it like,
and
I'm
the keeper of the insurance documents.
I can deal with this on my own. I will not call.
The fact that you did you call?
You
Yeah, I
had
did.
to.
Yeah. So after I called her parents, just like total adulting, modern day adulting, just like calling your parents.
What do I do in this situation?
Yeah. So this happened. It was more like because I knew that we swapped to a different insurer, and I couldn't find the paperwork.
It was a difficult scenario, wasn't it? Because
weird.
it was quite late at night. It was such a shame. They were coming back from this camping trip, and they'd had this like amazing trip. While I was away, they were like, we'll go do this. And there was like wild swimming and all this. And it was a great time. And then she was just getting tired and hungry, and you weren't going to go there, but you were like, I'll just pull in here and get her something quickly.
It's all her fault.
Yeah, it's the child's fault.
So it was all the circumstances. But then it was like, well, obviously can't drive the car. Some people helped you get the bikes down. Some really nice guy like just went in and bought food for Mila.
Bought her a Happy Meal.
Her a Happy Meal and
which
her
was
dad,
really
which was
sweet.
so nice.
Like,
and she was then just really chuffed because she sat up front in the car eating this while you're trying to like herself. But it's like, she can't drive the car. No one would come and get it.
I had like the bikes where they're going to go. The roof rack was ripped off. Like the rails on the roof.
It wasn't even an option to get a hotel
because
there was so much stuff that you wouldn't. It was just like, what do you do?
Call the parents. They'll have the answer to everything. But eventually I had to call Nice and be like.
And luckily, just earlier that week, I'd been doing a kind of getting myself organised thing, going, I've no idea. You just get your insurance on like one of those comparison sites, and they email you. And then you're like, who am I even insured with? Because I change every year. And which email address was it and all this? So luckily earlier that week, for some reason, I'd kind of like dug it out and knew who it was. And I had reception. We were at this amazing outdoor cocktail bar, just about to sit down and eat for the meal of the lifetime. Luckily, it was before the food was served. I got the call from Jay, and I was like, okay, I can just email this to you. And
honestly,
you've got this. So it was unfortunate, but it worked out rather well in the end for you because you got a new bike.
I did get a new bike,
which was the bike you were after. So
don't tell the insurance people.
Well, that was the amazing thing.
I suppose that's what it's for, to be fair.
We were like, it looks okay. It looks pretty scratched. It's hard to tell, but you just don't know if the frame's cracked. Or
I just didn't want to like, because it was mountain bike. I didn't want to be like descending a trail and like have the frame just go.
Just
and they're just like, send us pictures. No, that's a write-off. Okay, we'll buy a new bike. And we're like, oh, that's it.
Thanks.
Oh, okay, sure.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
And then there's a new bike.
Many hours on the phone, it has to be said.
I did not deserve a new bike out of that.
I was like, what do I get?
That shouldn't have been the outcome.
The question is, did you have a niece meal?
Oh, zing!
I am there with the jokes today.
So good.
Let's talk about the kind of supplier that would fit on your blog.
So it is predominantly, it was people photographing weddings in Scotland. Most of the photographers who are a member of We Fell in Love community and have been involved for years or all of them are based here. And it's their work that we tend to, and they share it most with us. It's theirs we tend to feature most because it's what our readers want to see. Basically, they've told us over and over, this is what they love to see, this style of weddings, this style of photography. And then we'll get submissions from, just the wider industry and a lot of international submissions. That's what people maybe don't realise. Like we're saying no more than we say yes. Glencoe and the Isle of Skye, you would not believe how many submissions from photographers from all over the world you get for those places. It's just absolutely constant. And that's happening more and more now. And it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because being in the industry, like we all, of course, love going overseas and working and photographing a wedding now and then. We're not going to say no if someone says, do you want to come to this amazing place and go and do this? But equally, you're aware that in these quite isolated places like Skye, there are people who are actually earning their living from being based and working there, you know, and it's really important that the work is there for them, that not everybody is bringing over their photographer for the wedding, because that would be terrible for the local community. So it's a balance, you know, but we're always looking for places that haven't been featured before, which luckily is really easy in Scotland, because as we're talking about, there is a new venue like every day. And even if a place has been featured before in Scotland, they look really different at different times of the year, don't they? We're such a seasonal kind of landscape. In general, our readers are, they have quite busy jobs. They like to, they're coming to Scotland for a particular reason to get married usually. It's not the default setting. It's, even if they live here, it's not just that they're getting married at the local hotel down the road. They're picking the place for a very particular reason. It's got memories for them, or it's, you know, the first, someone recently, their wedding, it was the place where they went to for their first weekend away together, and they fell in love with this place. There's usually this strong theme of people have fallen in love with this place, and that's why they're getting married there. And then the whole story behind that too. So for the photographers, it's often photographers who like to work all over the country. They like to experience these different places. They like to be part of that kind of party coming together. We also get a lot of elopements as well. A lot of it, people who like to get out into the wilds, into the elements, as we've talked about. They want to do sort of the more creative couples, a bit laid back couples though. They're in quite high powered jobs often and busy, but when it comes to their wedding, they're not trying. Some of them do. Some of them have said they've tried on about 50 dresses, but in general, they're more like, you know, they just pick what they love and they go for it. They don't obsess over.
I think
if they want to go and look at, I mean, we're not really massively heavy on showing like dress collections. We don't go and show the runway stuff and things. Other people do that really well. And we leave that to them. And what we do is show Scotland and where in Scotland and who in Scotland, basically, and help people. It's try and create connections so a couple can come and they can connect with a place or people. And then at the other end, you've got for the suppliers and the venues that they can find the couples that they want to connect with. It's just, it's kind of like being a matchmaker, actually, come to think of it.
But it's also like, it's about why they chose this place, because when you're going through a blog post, it's asking like the couple questions. So like they're giving their reasons for things, or telling their story. So when it's talking about like why they chose their filmmaker, they'll say, you know, that they found their work, and like they'll go through all the reasons. And it's interesting because you'll read through it and find something out that you didn't even know about. Like you'll have shot the thing, but you had no idea that that's how they found you, or that's why they wanted you there. And like you find all this stuff out, and it's always, I think it's always a nice, recommendations are always like, that's one of the best ways to get work, right? Because it's come from somebody like, I love their work, this is what they've done, I think that you should have them. And that's kind of the theme with the blog posts. Like,
that's what people always say to us, actually. Our readers are like, we trust you, we know that you only show the good stuff. Like we know that if a supplier's in the directory, they're a good quality supplier, and it's not just, because that's actually, that was another reason. I remember when we started we call it a collection rather than directory. It's like a directory, but it's not massive. Because I remember a friend was getting married, and she's like, I looked on a big directory for Scotland, and there's 850 wedding photographers, and I just don't know where to go.
That's crazy.
Where do you start?
I mean, there's is it 28,000 weddings in Scotland every year? But
like the work is there for everyone, but as somebody that's planning to get married, when you have that much choice, it's just overwhelming, isn't it? So like having like this,
when
like,
you're busy,
we know that these people are very good at what they do, and
people are busier than ever. They're more time poor than ever in general. I think when they're planning their weddings as well. That you know, there is too much choice for them, so you have to help narrow it down. So they'll say, "Oh, it feels like," especially if they don't have friends here who've recently got married to recommend people, to say, "It feels like you're like the person who we can ask to and trust that it will be, you know, it'll be fine, it'll be okay."
Yeah,
because it's a huge leap of faith, especially if you're coming from overseas, you know, and you're like just you're sending deposits to people you've never met.
Yeah, right.
You know?
Yeah.
To go to a place you've never been, to go to a venue you've never been in, you've never tried the food, you've never, you know, it's a massive leap of faith. I love that people will do that. It's just the kind of people that do that are the kind of people I love to work with. Because, you know, they are those, they're those kind of like optimistic travelers. And
And I think like the couples that are on the blog they're really passionate about their wedding.
And the couples that get in touch. So that's the other thing, that we get submissions from the couples. It's not just suppliers, and they usually say, "Oh, we found it so helpful that we want to help other couples now." And it's coming from it's not showing off. It's not I want to show off what I did. It's I know how useful it was, and I want people to see. And often they're like, because we did it this way and it was not conventional and it was slightly frowned upon in some elements of the family and things like that. And they're like, and we want people to see that's okay. You know, and it all worked out, and it, you know, you can do it. There are options.
So I think like when it comes to like, maybe I'm speaking too much for you and the blog, but when putting forward a wedding, it's more about the story and about the people rather than the things. Like never feel like it has to be
you need to have the photos to support that.
Yeah,
I'd say.
absolutely.
So it's really hard because sometimes the story's amazing and you're like, you read it and you're like, oh, I love you and I love your story and you're the blog's biggest fan and I can't wait to feature your day, and I click on the gallery link and I'm like, oh, and you had someone who doesn't shoot weddings do it, didn't you, or something, you know. It's just you had a very traditional photographer who doesn't shoot in a storytelling way, and there's not all the things we need there to tell a story. Like, nothing wrong with your photos, but it's not what we need for this feature. So that's hard. It's, when you get the fit where both sides match up, then that's just the best.
And that's
refreshing the story of the wedding is so important to you, because we've had features, or we've had submissions to other blogs like sort of worldwide and stuff, and they've rejected them because they're like, oh, there's not enough shots of the table details. Like, as a video, we have, like, we can't just be like, oh, well, here's more, because that would be a total re-edit of the film. And it's like, oh, like, the story's there. Do you not like that? Our readers want to see the details of how they would do their place cards, and you're like, come on.
In fact, we've been asked to edit like highlight reels with just interiors and exteriors, and I'm like, that is soulless. What?
There's no story involved in that. There's no emotion. It's like
it's not memorable, is it?
And I would
to hear that's important to be featured on We Fell in Love. It's refreshing to hear.
And I mean, like, we recognize that the stuff is important. Like, it's important to the couples, and like they take their time doing it.
To some people than others.
Yeah, totally. Some people
there's. You know, sometimes you'll get someone, like, if you were a florist and got married, maybe you would really go to town flowers. And then obviously it's important because it's part of your story. That's why you did that. Whereas for other people, they're like, I picked some wildflowers by the roadside. And
how amazing
weeds,
is that?
But they're pretty. And they got married on the beach and they're like, we didn't even plan to. It was going to be next week, but then it was going to be raining. So we just did it today. And you're like, amazing.
Sweet.
That kind of
That's
stuff.
awesome.
I love that.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's just... I guess that's just how it's evolved, and maybe it's just because for us it's always been important to us. I think the one thing that unites all the work I do is it's storytelling in some way. It's about creating connections, and it's about telling stories no matter what I'm doing. Usually that's the things that kind of fire me up. And the questions we ask them as well, once their wedding submission's been accepted, they get a Q&A. And it's really different questions to what you would usually be asked for a blog post. It's more about the story. Basically, it's like, how did you meet? And What's really hard too, for especially like a lot of photographers or filmmakers will say they've got a wedding they photographed and it's visually amazing, but the couple are really private. And they're like, we don't want to talk about how we met and we don't want to talk about these things. But, you know, we always say to them, fill out what you feel comfortable filling out. And the parts, if anything doesn't resonate with you, if it feels off, just skip it. And, you know, as long as there's enough story there that we can work with, then we can make it work.
Yeah.
And sadly, sometimes there's not. There's like 3 lines. You're like, I'm sorry. That's an Instagram post at best. The thing with that. Some people's jobs, you know, are their, you know, where they live, they just can't share their private lives. And that's fair enough.
Yeah.
As well.
What should, if there's a photographer sent at home and they're like, like, what should they be looking for from a wedding? Like, if they've got this summer's weddings that they've not submitted anywhere, what should they be looking for to be like, that's the one that I should submit to a blog?
Yeah, well, I think most importantly is to be familiar with the blogs or websites or publications or magazines. It's kind of like, no matter who you're submitting to, if it's a magazine or a blog or a website or platform, be familiar with that's the most important thing. Like, what if it's Rock and Roll Bride and they publish alternative weddings, then it's unlikely that they're as amazing as this wedding you photographed has shot. If it's very classic in its styling and things, it's unlikely that they're going to feature that. Or if it's a blog that has just featured Glencoe the week before, as amazing as your photos are, and they probably are because it's Glencoe, they might not be able to do it again too soon. It's sometimes as simple as that kind of things, but try and be familiar with them. Choose the ones you love most as well. Choose, you'll just find they're all, especially the very niche ones, they're not for everyone. That's the point. It's not for everyone. And find the ones, I also say this with social media as well. You were talking about Twitter earlier and that it's not for you. Yeah. Choose the 2 that are for you and then just go for it with those ones. Same with this. Choose the ones that you love. Get to know who's involved. When we first started out as photographers, we got to know the magazines, got to know the staff. We'd just be like, if you ever need something, just shout, let us know, and we'd get it to them quickly, because coming from a journalist background, I knew that when you're on deadline and you need a picture of a cake that's blue or something, you need it like 5 minutes ago. So whoever gets that to you is the person you'll then go to for the cover when you need the cover in a hurry or when you need this feature. So just be useful and helpful and friendly. It's amazing how many people are quite rude sometimes as well. So, say thank you. If you get a feature, get in touch and say thank you. Even if it's social media or something, like sometimes it's radio silence. And, that sometimes there used to be a bit of an attitude that photographers felt like they were doing the blog a favour or the magazine a favour. Right, okay. There used to be a bit of a debate would go on. People would say, should I charge this magazine for featuring my wedding photos? And then the other side would be like, you're getting free PR. That would cost you thousands of pounds.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Like 3
They're pointing people who want your services to you, and that war's on. And you can see both sides when you're on both sides of it. But
being commissioned for something is entirely different from like, you've done a job and they're just wanting to show off that work. Like, I think that's maybe a bit different.
Same with blogs. A lot of people, what they don't realize is that most wedding bloggers are tiny micro businesses just like them. Often they are working from home. They're one person often. And there's a really strong, huge bloggers community, wedding bloggers community. I don't know if you know how many there are now in the UK, but there are loads, absolute loads. And we're all like, we'll go to the same awards events, and we've got Facebook groups where we all keep in touch. It's really close knit and everyone helps each other out. But a lot of them, they're people like, some of them are working from home and they have children who have disabilities who they're the main carer for. Yeah. So this is a flexible lifestyle where they can take the skills they had when they did work in magazines or PR or publishing and make a living from it, which is amazing. So that kind of, I think this them and us attitude that you used to hear in the past, it's kind of like if everyone realised what was on the other side, I don't think it would feel like that. Just saying thank you, that's like such a tiny but really important thing as well. But get familiar with them. Obviously realise as well, these are businesses, these blogs. People are doing it because they love it, but at the end of the day, they have to pay the rent or mortgage. And
it's like going back, if you're sitting at home and like wondering about like, what are they looking for and all that, find out who it is. But
get in
also
touch with them.
Ask. And like show off the work that you're in love with, right? Don't just be like, this will be nice because it's this dress. Like, be fired up about what it is that you're wanting to share. Like,
and
proud.
Often a mistake I think people make is that they'll look at who are the sort of top 3 in terms of follower numbers, globally or in the UK. Obviously, it makes sense. You've only got maybe a handful of weddings each year that you feel could be featured, maybe because some of your couples are private, or some days you think, well, we didn't get to shoot that part at all, the ceremony or whatever, so you don't feel like you can submit. So you have a small amount of weddings, and you obviously want to get the best exposure you can from those. That absolutely makes sense. But if everyone goes to the same blogs, of course that you're more likely to be turned down if you submit your wedding to one of the biggest ones, whereas perhaps it was a Jewish wedding and there's a wedding blog, whereas if you look at the numbers, they'd be a lot smaller, but it's so niche. It's the world's biggest Jewish wedding blog, and that's run by someone in London. Submit there, if you want more weddings like that one, and so on. So
the Instagram numbers aren't all that matters. It's is it the right target audience?
There's a lot of research coming out now to show that most of the accounts with the biggest followers are actually making way, in terms of influencers, making way less money than a lot of the small niche accounts. So that obsession with numbers finally is starting to come to an end, I think.
So what stands out to you when people
submit? Story and visual and the connection. Sorry. It just stands out when it all comes together, when it's a story that we just kind of, it grips us, I suppose. And obviously we hear a lot of stories. I think we've published now on the blog, and it was 500 at the last count. It's probably well over that, but you're hearing thousands, because for every one you publish, there's quite a lot that sadly you can't publish because you can't publish them all. So it's when it all comes together that the story and the telling of the story all connect, and we know that it's something that our readers will resonate with, most importantly as well. And it's really hard to say, isn't it? That you're like, well, what's that mean? Send it in and we'll look and see. But I think for some people, they would know if they photographed, if the day they'd photographed was I don't know, say it was like a gothic-y, really themed, really cool, unusual wedding, then they would probably have somewhere in mind that they ideally would like to have that one featured. And what they should do then is go and really study that one, look at the website, what are the submission guidelines. You won't believe how many emails I get where people are just like, I had a look, but I don't know how to submit. And I'm like, there is a submit page on the homepage, and it says submit, and you click on there and it tells you how to submit. And it's like, that happens a lot. So have a look and see what the guidelines are, because annoyingly for you as the submitter, everyone is different. Some people want to see everything. Some people just want to see 10 pictures. So look and see how they want to see it. Is it a form that you fill out online? Do you email them? And do what they've asked you to do. That's another... Like if you do all those things, then you're already in the top 10% of submissions. If you study the market, if you do what they've asked you to do, then already that's a massive head start. Don't blanket submit. It can be really tempting to, I've got this amazing wedding, I'm going to send it to 10 places, and then I'll wait and I'll see who says yes, and I'll pick the one with most followers, because obviously that makes sense. I understand, but as bloggers hate that. And they talk to each other. So they'll say, I've got this wedding submitted, but I get the feeling it's a blanket submission because it didn't really come in the format I asked for, and so on. And everyone will say, yeah, we all got that. And then what happens is nobody features that one.
Tom's hungry.
Tom's after a yum yum.
You've got to feed the animals now.
I need to talk less. I want a yum yum.
You can have a yum yum. Go for a whole. Go for it.
Yeah, I've had a half.
I had a half of that one there.
I'm going to have some after. Don't eat that one.
I'm not eating any.
None.
No.
You off the sugar.
We'll see about that.
I'm trying to stay good. I'm back at the gym. Going strong.
Getting swole.
Yeah, exactly. Got my protein bars, got my protein. Actually, I don't have any protein shake, but protein
shampoo.
The reason I asked about like the things that you look for, because obviously you've said story a few times throughout the podcast.
Have we? Story.
Story. You focus on that.
Do you like stories?
I like stories. Greg and I have noticed this trend where everyone says that they are a storyteller.
Yeah.
And it seems to be this very common blanket statement. So I'm just wondering, what aspects are you looking at? How the story of a wedding day is told, or the actual story of the couple?
Both.
Or both, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Blanket answer. Both.
Cool.
Both. And sometimes we don't. Sometimes we don't know the full story at the submission stage. Sometimes, say it's a photographer submitting, they'll tell us what they think is important about the day, or what they know, or what they think we want to know. And nearly always it mentions the weather as well, being scholar. It was a terrible day, but we managed to get these great pictures, and we got outside, blah, blah. And they'll talk about the day and tell us what they suppose, what stood out for them, or what was unusual for them. So you're sometimes going on really limited information, and then sometimes the story that comes through. In fact, one actually that I can think of that we're due to feature soon, I didn't know this at the point of acceptance, but it turns out the story is the wedding, it almost didn't happen. Everything went wrong that week. And it just, she told me this before she's go and do the sort of full in-depth form, so I'm waiting to hear. But it was like, it was weather, it was logistics, it was travel, it was just like everything. They were saying it really, really nearly didn't happen. So there's this amazing story that we didn't even know at the beginning as well. So sometimes that happens, and the story becomes so much bigger than you even realise from the beginning. And other times it starts with the story.
Okay.
And then you're hoping that the rest all comes together.
Please be good photos.
Please.
Just
get your Uncle Bob, please. That's that thing, isn't it?
I know what you mean, though. Like, storytelling is kind of just, it's sweeping right now. And what is it even meaning?
It also feels like that because it's the bubble you're in. You've got to remember it's that thing where it's everything. It's the groups you're in and the part of the industry you're in. If you look at the wider industry, and I think, especially when you're in, so the groups we're all in and things online, you're seeing all this sort of creative work and people talking about storytelling and all these kind of things. But when you're seeing the wider industry as a whole, that whole 850 kind of photographer, I mean, there's way more than that. There's thousands. That's probably a tiny percentage of that sort of industry is talking about that. It just feels like it's everyone because it's what you've surrounded yourself with, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah. I'd never thought about that. That sounds very logical.
Sorry, I didn't mean to shut down your line.
No, this is good. Shut me down. This is good. It's changed the way I'm thinking.
Because probably you'll find as well, a lot of photographers, like, I'm on Instagram and I kind of want to stop following all these photographers because they're all so amazing, and then I'm doubting my work and I don't want to be overly influenced by their work. I want to have my own style and things. And then you want to say, do you know what though? There are still thousands who are not even on Instagram. There's a lot who don't even know what that is. So you're already in the small pool at the sort of most creative, higher end of the industry when you're having those kind of conversations, I would say, which is reassuring to know that there are a lot of you, but there aren't as many of you doing it as well as that, I think.
Yeah, that does make me feel better.
And that's why we started the blog, because we wanted to show people doing things really, really well and putting their hearts into it, putting their hearts and soul into it as well. And being incredibly passionate about what they do.
So you were talking about submission sort of guidelines earlier. So
yes.
Well done.
We sometimes feel a slight disadvantage being filmmakers because we can only show sort of our view of the wedding day.
Yeah.
And blogs tend to want more content to the feature.
Yeah.
So do you accept submissions from just filmmakers?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
It is more challenging as a filmmaker to get your work published, for sure, without doubt. And I don't know which blogs do and don't accept. We do. But then what we do, the posts work best if they also have photos.
Yep.
So what we'll do is it makes it harder because it has to all match up. So it has to then also be that the photos will work within the feature too. And sometimes people will have an amazing filmmaker and then they had their friend take the pictures, or something like that, and it doesn't work together. So it makes it a little bit more challenging, but in general, usually it works. Yes, I mean, more and more so now. You're probably regularly working with photographers who would make a good match for a feature, and that they shoot in that style that works for telling a story.
Yeah. So you obviously prefer if the photo and video people get together beforehand and submit together.
Well, that would be amazing, wouldn't it? I would prefer that.
It doesn't happen very often.
No, it never happens.
Right, okay.
It's one or the other usually. And then you've got the added complication. Remember that nearly every blog has an exclusivity clause, so they don't want to feature a wedding that someone else has just featured, basically that means, which makes sense because then it'd all look the same and be really boring. So, it makes sense, yes, talk to the photographer and say, I think this would make an amazing feature, possibly on this blog or in this online magazine, not print magazine for you. And what do you think? And do you think the couple would be up for it? And if everyone's on the same page, then that's a brilliant idea. You might find that the photographer's like, oh, I want to be on this one because I have a relationship with them. I'm an advertiser with them, and that gets me an in. And then, but that might be really useful for you because you're like, great, we'd like an in. That sounds good. So yes, talk to each other. That really makes sense. And sometimes though the couple have their own idea. They're like, what you don't know is all through the planning, we were using this one and that's our favourite and we want to be in there. And we don't care if that one is the biggest over here because this is our favourite. So it's kind of, you can see all the complications now, can't you? From when it all comes together, it's amazing, but it can be challenging.
Would you listen to more the couple if they said, we used your blog through the whole way. I don't even know if this is going to make sense, but if a couple say we want to feature our wedding,
yeah,
because then it comes down to rights of images. So they want to use the stuff, they get in contact with their photographer, and she wants to use their images on another blog. Does that ever happen? Is there ever like a fight of dynamics?
We won't hear about it. That would be a conversation between them, so we just wouldn't know. But you hear about it, don't you, in groups? You hear photographers saying, "Oh, I was really hoping to submit this wedding, and now I've discovered it's been used in a magazine. They used these images, and now I'm worried that I won't be able to submit it." You hear that kind of conflict.
Yeah.
But then that just, to me, as the photographer as well, at the end of the day, much as obviously it's amazing to have your work on a huge platform where you feel it's going to be the best one for your work, at the end of the day, it's their wedding. It is your client's wedding. It's their story. It's their story to share and tell. It's your images to go with that. But for me, it's theirs. It's up to them. So that, hopefully between them, they would come to...
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes you can do both. Sometimes you just have to check what the rules are. Everyone has their own rules.
Yeah.
For us, what's best as well, if people are really honest, they'll get in touch and say, this wedding is going to be featured on this blog, or it was featured on this blog on this time. We'd also love to have it on yours because that blog is in America and we know that not many people here are looking at it.
Yeah.
And then we'll say, there's no crossover. That's absolutely fine. Or, there is actually quite a crossover, so it probably wouldn't work for us. So always just kind of being open and honest and kind of, the more you know about it, I think the easier it is hopefully to know how to approach it all, because you just might not be aware of all these things. I'm sure the people who you do get, it's often a planner will, we'll get them from overseas as well, that they will blanket submit to every single UK wedding blog, and you can just tell by, or they get
just want to work in the UK more.
Yeah. The thing with multiple features, a lot of people will say, that they sometimes they say, I find it hard to get my couple to fill out these forms to be featured. They're so busy, their jobs are crazy. They haven't done it and it'd be great and they still haven't done it. So if they're, some people, if they're going to struggle to do one form, chances of them doing that repeatedly for a number of publications, are unlikely.
How does that work with your blog? Do you...
Go.
Why don't you ask Jay this question so that someone can eat some yum-yums?
I'll answer as best as I can.
If somebody submits, do you contact the couple, or do you send the photographer the form to then get the couple?
I can tell you now, Jay doesn't know the answer.
I don't know the answer to that one. No.
Why are you even here, Jay?
I'm sorry. It's my one chance to shine. And but I literally only came here for the coffee. And the chat. I mean,
and the yum-yums.
And the yum-yums,
Yeah, so if it's a photographer that submits, we'll get back in touch with them. We don't have the couple's contact details at that point, because obviously we don't know them. GDPR and all that stuff. We'll go back to the photographer and tell them what we would need from them, and also send them the link. We do everything online. We have all our submission forms are online. We just find it's easiest for everyone. And I know, because we're obviously photographers who sometimes are on the other end of the submission process, it can be really time consuming. You have to do all these things. You have to, choose the images, resize the images, fill out all these things, and then what is for often just no, that's not the right fit. And then you have to start over and do it again. So we wanted to make it as easy as we could for everybody.
Do you submit your own pictures for blogs? Do you ever do that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not as often as we used to, because we're usually too busy looking at other people's pictures. And blogging other people's work, it's a weird thing.
No, if we know that we've photographed a wedding that would work really well on a certain blog, we'll definitely do it. Yeah.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because why not, right?
Exactly.
We've got one of our weddings is in the first issue of the magazine, and it's something, if anything, we always try not to, because the last thing, especially when we started it, we were like, we don't want people to think this is us just making a platform for our own work.
I can imagine.
There's always going to be that, they're just doing this so that they can do this and show off and things, and that absolutely wasn't the reason. But to the extent that we probably don't even do enough of our own stuff on it. It absolutely makes sense. It's completely our market. We should do more. But in this, so in the suppliers who are members of our online collection and our community, so we've got a really active Facebook group where we're all talking all the time, and I will tell them in particular what I need. I'll say, has anyone got a wedding here? has anyone shot this recently? And I'm always saying that it's going back to the diversity thing again, that the vast majority of submissions we get are same-sex weddings, and they are couples who are Caucasian. And it's just a vast majority that we get submitted. And so we're always saying, we want our quite slim brides often. And we'll say, we want to show everyone. We want people who are plus size and really confident about it, because that's amazing to see when you're getting married and you're a plus size bride. Or, we want to show everybody who's getting married here. We want to be representative, because that's what makes it so amazing here, that everyone, both people who live here and people who come here, it's such a multicultural, for such a tiny country. Very multicultural. So there's me lost the thread again. Where did that start?
But it's something that we've been talking about a lot lately.
Things. That's our wedding. This is why. So everyone said, we have this issue. We shoot LGBTQ weddings, but often we're not allowed to share them because of where the couple live or their jobs, or they're not able. It's unfortunately still a thing.
It's insane that still to this day.
Don't feel
that
safe
is mental.
Which
images.
It's terrible that that's still a thing. So we have got one of our amazing couples who got married at Signet Library that you were just talking about not very long ago.
No.
September. 2 grooms, lovely guys, lovely wedding. So they will be in the magazine. And the best thing about that,
it's hilarious.
When I got this email, and I was just like, did a dance. I did one of those happy dances that you do, you know what I mean? Because I didn't even know. It said, one of the questions is, did you read We Fell in Love and use it for your planning? Yes, how did you find your photographers? Well, we first came across them on We Fell in Love. We didn't know that.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
So many people you're like, how did you find us? And they're like, oh, online. And you're like, oh, right, okay. And you kind of assume Google search, but you don't know what that means. The amount of people who afterwards are like, oh yeah, because it was on, and you're like, oh.
Yeah.
Or sometimes people say, we found you at that wedding fair, and you're like, we weren't at that wedding fair, so no, you didn't.
I think we said in this magazine,
unreliable witnesses often. But that's a lovely thing to hear.
People don't know, or they've seen you in so many different places as well, right? It's that whole brand.
Gotta be aware.
But also because a lot of wedding magazines and even some blogs, they are a bit more bride centric. There's the colours, the branding, the names often have that. Whereas I think because when we launched, we had 2 guys on the team. We've always been really careful that our readership is mainly female, but we'll get, which I always love, we'll get loads of comments on things like Facebook and things from guys, and that they feel okay that they can come on and talk about someone else's wedding and be like, oh yeah, I love that, or look at this, and send it to their mate. They don't feel put off because it's not all like pink confetti tastic.
No, it's a goddamn thunderbolt.
Yeah.
Fucking loads of colours in your face. Yeah. Love that.
All the colours.
All the colours.
Yeah, totally. It's all about
those overcast Scottish days somehow.
But it is that. It is a thing that we keep on talking about. Imagine looking for a wedding that represents you, or looking for things that represent you, and you go on to a site or a magazine or something like that, and it's just full of not you.
It makes you feel like it's not for you. One of another wedding blogger, she runs New Bride, it's called Nova Reed. She's a diversity campaigner, and it just talking with her, she just highlights things that wouldn't have occurred to me. She'll say, as a black woman getting married, if she'll look at someone's website and there's no black person on there, then you just feel like it's not for you. This is not for you. And it's not that anyone have meant to exclude you, but they are. And it's
this passive
all across the industry.
Kind of that happens.
We don't realise as white people, we just don't realise that we're doing it. So it's really important, really, really important. And you're seeing that change now in the September issue of so many fashion magazines this year. They put black models on the cover. It was almost all of the main magazines. And that was in 2018, that was the first time that happened across the board, because it wasn't so long ago, and Nova will say this, she's been having meetings with so many of the huge mainstream magazines, fashion magazines, and people would genuinely say things like, black doesn't sell. They would say that to,
crazy.
You can't put a black person on the cover, which is just insane.
Yeah.
So it's changing in the mainstream, and the wedding industry takes longer to change. It just does, but it's filtering through. And for us, that's just really, really important.
Yeah. It's pretty awesome, by the way, that you've built a platform for guest bloggers who didn't have a voice before, or just people who didn't have a voice, and now they do. I didn't say that was pretty awesome, but it is awesome. So,
awesome.
Yeah,
it's awesome that you think it's awesome.
Well, it's funny. Like we got our very first wedding was 2 brides.
Yeah, same sex.
What a great way to like start your career in weddings.
Well, instantly just showing people, look, we don't have any stereotypes or anything.
And it's difficult to get same-sex weddings if you haven't, like, if you're not showing any of that work, right? Like people are like, oh, they don't do same-sex weddings, and it's like, it's not that I don't, it's just that until recently there weren't many, or it, like, I just haven't photographed it for whatever reason, or you know, etc., etc., etc.
You have to make an effort to actively show. That's the sad thing, isn't it? Because again, it's going back to that bubble. You assume that because, and I do, like we all do this, I assume that everybody is okay with same-sex marriage, and I assume that everybody is a nice, kind individual, and
goes through life not being a dick.
We all make so many assumptions like that. It's just natural to do that, but unfortunately, it's not the case, and you actually have to show people and tell people that too. And I mean, this is another thing. Goes back to when I mean, again, it's about saying no more than you say yes. The amount of potential sponsors we turn down because of reasons like that, because we have heard that they are not a supporter of same-sex marriage, or kind of things.
It's crazy that you just assume people are cool with everything.
And
then you hear
because
a story
that's
about
normal.
a supplier that
Why wouldn't they
rejected
be?
somebody, and you're like, wait, why did they do that?
Hey?
Well, thank you for coming. That was our last question.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
For letting us drink your delicious whiskey and talk a load of random nonsense as well. Beers.
Has this reached the limit? Not the limit, the record. Oh, no.
Man.
Before we disappear, though,
Is our parking run out?
I'm kidding.
Where can people find the blog, and where can they find your photography as well? Give us some social plugs.
Okay, so the website for We Fell in Love is wefellin.love.co.uk, and then you'll find us on Instagram and Facebook, and not really much on Twitter anymore, has to be said, because it's not fun. Under Whiffleblog. And then for our photography, we are Elemental. Our website is elementalphoto.co.uk, and we're on Instagram, elementalphotog. Photog. Because it's so hard to get everything matching up. That's a challenge, isn't it?
And you said that. Oh, you said all those links without sounding like a dweeb. Because like everyone goes www. some
without that.
It's because I live with Jay, and if I usually do say the wrong thing, and he's like, "You don't need to do that.
You don't need
anymore."
to say www anymore.
Thanks
That's
for
true.
making me look
World
cooler
Wide
than
Web.
I am.
On the interwebs at.
And your hosts have been Simon and Greg.
Where do we find you again?
You can find us at cinematefilms.co.uk. That is www.cinematefilms.co.uk. We're on Instagram at cinematefilms, and we're on Facebook /cinematefilms.
Amazing.
We've got this new bit in the show where we we try to get people to review the podcast to help grow it. But now we're doing shout outs.
Whoa.
So we pick one, and then we say thank you to that person who spent the time to type their thoughts and their feelings and send them a bit of love.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yes.
Is it only to the nice reviews?
Yeah. Anything.
I've only got nice ones.
Anything below 5 stars.
What did your mum say? Only kidding.
You joke, but I bet your mum said.
But seriously. We've all got an enthusiastic mum. Yeah.
What was that thing that you were talking about earlier on, where someone was in the shower and then they run?
Me. That would be me.
What was the contact?
Because I always have my best ideas or things I want to write when I'm in the shower, so then I have to like run off and write them down.
That's how I imagine people listen to the podcast, which is why we don't have enough reviews. They're in and they're like, I should review them, but instead of, they're not obviously going to run out of the shower.
That's true. Genuinely, I listen to podcasts usually when I'm driving.
Yes.
So that is genuinely
I listen to so many podcasts, and I've never typed a review to someone.
No.
Yeah. No, I never have either. And I usually, I would leave a review. Yeah.
I leave reviews. You don't leave reviews. Leave reviews. comment on their
everyone
YouTube.
Can go out and leave your review now. Is there one? You should do at least 3 nice things every day for people, so that would be a good one. Or they could leave you 3 reviews. No,
3 reviews
from
all 5 stars. Yeah.
That would maybe not be very authentic, but they could get their friends who listen to also leave you reviews. Or yeah, they should do that.
Well, we hope you've enjoyed this episode, and if you did, hit that subscribe button so you know the next time the next episode goes online. Please leave a review. That really is a massive help. We joke, but seriously, it's a massive help. And it helps us grow the podcast. Or, if you don't want to do that, maybe you are driving, maybe you're in the shower, just call a friend. Tell a friend right now. Go on, just tell them. And for our review shout out for today, who we got?
I want to thank the Shetlander.
I thought Jay was going to read it out.
Shout out to the Shetlander.
Yes.
Shout out.
The Shetlander.
Okay, Jay.
Big up.
You can
big up, fam.
The Shetlander's review on our podcast.
Cat D. Brilliant. Love the chat topics and guest speakers. Great to hear from others in the industry talking candidly about their experiences and challenges. Keep them coming, guys.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
Shetlander. Thank you, Cat D.
I suddenly feel really nervous about next week's reviews. Like after this goes out, I'll be like,
your guest used to be good.
Never invite those Golians on the show again. What
a lot of waffle.
So until next time,
enjoy your life.